Paling emang lali aku. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Well,
Today we will deliver materials regarding language acquisition in the class in the study course of Introduction to Linguistics. And first of all, let us introduce ourselves. Uh, my friend here, his name is KRISNA with the NIM number, student number 111, and me, Sultan ISFAHAN, with the NIM number, student number 117. And my friend will deliver language acquisition definition and will deliver the first language acquisition materials. Krishna Ditya, the time is yours.
okay, thank you so much, Sultan Isfahan. So, what is language acquisition? Language acquisition is the human process of learning to understand, speak, and use languages, covering both first and second languages, studied in fields like psycholinguistics, neurolinguistics, and developmental linguistics. So, first language. So language acquisition is basically about how we start to learn our languages from first languages to second languages, which explore how our brain, mind, and growth and stages affect how we learn language. So maybe that's it for the definition. So let's just jump to the first language acquisition. What is the first language? What is first language acquisition? First language acquisition is a natural, unconscious process in early childhood marked by stages like babbling and two-word speech, spurred by Chomsky theory of an innate universal grammar, which we will explore it later in theoretical approaches. So, first language acquisition refers to the way infants and young children naturally learn the first language without formal teaching. This process begins from birth and progresses through several practicable things. It's studied in three key fields: psycholinguistics, which explores how language is processed in the mind, like how children understand and produce speech; developmental linguistics, which focuses on how language abilities grow and change throughout childhood; and neurolinguistics, which examines how language functions are represented and controlled in the brain. Together, these fields help us understand both the mental and biological sides of language development. And there are, wait, one, two, three, four, five stages all on first language acquisition. First is pre-linguistic, 0 to 12 months, st stated by cooing and babbling. This is when baby coo and babble. These sounds are not yet real words, but are the foundation of future speech. The second stage is holophrastic, 12 to 18 months. Single word, single words express full ideas. Children begin using single words known as holophrases to express complete ideas. For example, saying milk, like it say, I want milk. The third stage is two-word stages, which starts on 18 to 24 months. Simple combos like mommy, go. Kids start combining two words like mommy, go or want cookie to form basic ideas. And the fourth stage is telegraphic from 2 to 3 years. Short grammar-like sentences. Speech become more sentence-like but still lacks function words. For example, they might say, doggy sleepy now. And the last stage is full sentences, which on third years plus. Rapid grammar and vocabulary development. At this point, children show rapid growth in grammar and vocabulary. They can now form more complex and grammatically correct sentences. There are three theoretical approaches on first language acquisition. The first is native history by Noam Chomsky, which on the definition. Here, language is innate. Example, children form correct grammar without being taught. He argued that language is innate. Children are born with a universal grammar or built-in ability to learn language. For instance, kids can create grammatically correct sentences even without being directly taught. Second, behaviorist by Skinner or B.F. Skinner. Learn through imitation and reward. Example, child says milk and gets milk. According to Skinner, language is learned through imitation and reinforcements. Like the example, a child says milk, gets milk, and is rewarded, so they repeat the word to get a profit. And interaction is by Vygotsky and Brunner. This view combines both biology and environment. It says language develops through social interaction. For example, parents guiding and correcting their children's speech plays a big role. To sum up, first language acquisition is a natural, unconscious process. It follows clear developmental stages from cooing to full sentences. Theories differ. Some say it's innate, others say it's learned, and some say it's a mix of both. First language acquisition also influences how people learn a second languages later on. Maybe that's it from me. Thank you, and now I will give you to Sultan.
All right. Now that we have covered how people acquire their first language, let's move on to second language acquisition, which will be delivered by me. Second language acquisition refers to how people learn a language beyond their native one. Second language acquisition is not the same for everyone. It can be easier or harder depending on a few key factors, which is the first one is age. Younger learners usually acquire language more naturally, which will be expanded a little bit more later on. And the second point is motivation. People who want to learn are more likely to succeed, of course. And the third is the exposure. The more you hear and use the language, the better you learn it, because this is the way how our brains get used to the new language. And the last is the first language background. Your language one can either help or interfere with learning the language too. Maybe there are the difference in grammar structure or same grammar structure that may help uh, the second language acquisition. Now then, I will want to expand about the first point, that the age younger learners usually acquire language more naturally. This is actually called the critical period hypothesis. One major idea in second language acquisition is the critical period hypothesis, which suggests that there is a window of time, mostly before puberty, when the brain is especially good at picking up languages. This is why children often become fluent in a second language with little or no accent, while adults might struggle more. And I would like to talk about interlanguage. Next one is the interlanguage. As people learn a second language, they go through a stage called interlanguage. And this is a temporary system where learners mix rules from their first and second languages, such as one what I just said before, where language one can either interfere or help. Now, for example, a learner might say "he go home," which isn't correct. "He go home," but shows progress as they develop onto grammar. And this means "he go home" may refer to the first language grammar being applied to the second language, which is correct in the first language, but is not correct in the second language. Now, this is part of learning process, not just a mistake. Now, key factors, importance of input. Uh, in the input, to improve an L2 learners need rich and understandable input. This means hearing or reading the language in a way that makes sense. For example, listening to simple stories in the target language helps build vocabulary and grammar naturally. Just like with L1, consistent input is essential for real learning. And the second one, the second key factors is affective factors. I will lump affective, cognitive, and sociocultural factors as one. Language learning is also shaped by emotional, mental, and social factors. And effective factors, things like motivation, confidence, and anxiety really matter. A relaxed, motivated learner usually performs better. The cognitive factors, where like skills like memory, attention, and problem solving help learners process and store language, while the socio-cultural factors, it's like environment and identity, also play a role. For example, someone immersed in an L2 speaking community often learns faster than someone who isn't. And I would like to talk about the next one. Can you please scroll below? Scroll
The-
below. Scroll below to the. Thank you. The next is contrastive analysis and error versus error analysis. Now, the first is the definition of contrastive analysis. Is the process of comparing a learner's first language L1 with their second language or L2 to predict the kinds of errors the learner might make. Now remember the he go home part. Now, when L1 and L2 are very different, learners are more likely to make mistakes. If they are similar, learning might be easier. For example, a Spanish speaker might say he has 25 years instead of he is 25 years old, because in Spanish, people say tiene 25 años. Tiene means has, 25 means 25, años means years old. Now, this is a direct transfer of language 1 structure into language 2. And this error can be predicted by contrastive analysis. This may help teachers anticipate specific mistakes based on the learner's language background. Now, the second one is error analysis. Error analysis is the study of the actual mistakes learners make in language 2, whether caused by their language 1 or by the internal learning process. Now, errors aren't just bad habits, they show how the learner's mind is trying to build rules for the new language. For example, a learner says go wed instead of went, as in the particle et to indicate the past. The particle eds, that's not from their first language, because they've learned that English past tense often adds ed, and so by that logic they add go at as in the past. Now this shows internal rule formation, which is a natural part of learning. Now this may be beneficial for people to understand, as it helps teacher understand how learners are thinking about the language and where to give support or clarification. In summary, second language acquisition is shaped by many factors like age, motivation, and language 1 background. The critical period hypothesis highlights how younger learners have an advantage. Learners pass through stages including interlanguage and make errors that show progress. Input, emotions, thinking skills, and social context all matter. Together, these insights help shape better language teaching methods and materials. In the past, mistakes in language 2 were often blamed on language 1 interference, but now through error analysis, we see that errors can show learning in action. For example, saying go it instead of went might seem wrong, but it shows the learner is trying to apply a regular past tense rule, so errors aren't just signs of failure, they're signs of growth. And I think that's all from me. Thank you for watching the video, and hope you have a good day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.